Hey, Jason here from Simply Swider. If your Maytag dishwasher is completely dead and won't respond no matter what buttons you press, you're in the right place. In the next 15 minutes, I'll walk you through the 5 most common causes and show you exactly how to fix them yourself. Good news is that most of these issues are actually pretty simple fixes that don't require replacing expensive parts. Before we get started, if you run into any questions, jump into our Facebook group. Links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. So the most common culprit is that door latch assembly. Here's what happens. Every time you open and close that door, you're wearing down these plastic retention tabs and the micro switches inside. You can see on the screen right now how this latch mechanism works. I had this customer last month who swore her dishwasher was completely dead. Turns out the door wasn't actually clicking shut properly. Those plastic tabs had fatigued and the switches weren't engaging. Now, here's how you know it's the latch. The door feels loose or doesn't give you that solid click when you close it. You might have power to the unit, but pressing start does absolutely nothing. Don't ask me how I know this, but way too many people replace the control board thinking it's fried when it's actually just these cheap switches not telling the board it's safe to run. To test this, you'll need to pop open the console and check those micro switches with a multimeter. They should show 0 ohms when the latch is engaged. If they're reading infinity or the plastic mechanism is cracked, you're looking at replacing the whole latch assembly, about 20 to 70 bucks depending on your model, way cheaper than that service call. Here's where it gets interesting. Maytag has a documented design weakness that I see all the time. Steam and moisture from the wash cycles actually penetrate into the door console and corrode that flat ribbon cable connecting your touchpad to the control board. I remember this guy who called me because his start button wouldn't work, but everything else was fine. When we opened it up, that ribbon cable had these black and brown burn marks all over it. Classic moisture damage. Here's how you'll know it's happening. Specific buttons like start or cancel stop working while others are fine. You get erratically flashing lights, or sometimes the unit starts by itself. We call that ghost operation. You might also see error code F6E1 pop up. Now here's where most people mess up. They replace the main control board for 150 bucks or more when the actual problem is the touchpad assembly. Don't ask me how I figured that one out the hard way. You can often see the corrosion just by visual inspection. Pull that control panel
Once you have
and
it set
look
up
for
in
those
place, you
telltale
can
black spots on
lift the
the
control
ribbon
panel up
cable. Cleaning it with
and
alcohol might
then
work
open up the door a little
temporarily,
bit.
but trust me, the
Once
corrosion
you have the door
usually
open a little
comes
bit, you
back.
can
You're looking at 150 to 300 bucks for a new control panel, but it beats throwing money at the wrong part. Another common cause is that thermal fuse. This little safety device cuts power to the whole control system if things get too hot. Here's the thing most people don't realize. These fuses usually blow because of high resistance in the wiring, not just random failure. I had this lady whose dishwasher was completely dead. No lights, no sounds, nothing. She was convinced the control board was toast. Turned out to be a $25 thermal fuse. Here's how you know your dishwasher is completely unresponsive, like it's not even plugged in. Before you assume it's the fuse, check that your house breaker isn't tripped. Learned that one the hard way. To test the thermal fuse safely, first unplug your dishwasher and wait 5 minutes. Then use a multimeter. A good fuse reads 0 ohms, while a blown fuse reads infinity or OL on your meter. Now, here's the critical part that trips up a lot of DIYers.
run the
When you
wires.
replace that thermal fuse, you got to install the new
To snap it
wiring
onto the board,
harness that
all you have to
comes
do
with
is
it.
line it
If
up
you just
and
swap the
snap it down
fuse
into
and
position.
reuse the old wires, that new fuse is going to blow immediately because those old wires are what caused the problem in the first place. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one. I can't tell you how many service calls I've been on where the dishwasher was perfectly fine, just locked or in sleep mode. Here's what to look for. If you see a lock icon lit up on the display, or if the lights flash 3 times when you press a button, that's the child lock feature doing its job. Press and hold that lock button for about 4 seconds to unlock it. If there's no response at all, walk over to your breaker box and make sure that circuit didn't trip. You'd be surprised how often it's something that simple. Another thing, some of these models have a sleep mode that makes them look dead. Try pressing start or cancel to wake them up. I remember this customer who was ready to throw his dishwasher away because it wouldn't respond. Took me about 10 seconds to unlock it, and suddenly it was working perfectly. Don't feel bad if this catches you. These safety features are designed to be pretty subtle. If all the other checks come back clean, then we might be looking at an actual control board failure. Here's what's actually happening inside. Relays start sticking, triacs short out, or voltage spikes fry the circuits. This is the least common cause, but when it happens, you'll know. Visual signs include burnt components right on the board itself. You can actually see the damage. You might get error code F1E1, or you'll have voltage going into the board, but nothing coming out to run the motor or fill valve. I've seen these boards fail from other component problems too, like when a bad motor or dispenser creates a short that takes out the board. Here's the deal though. This is the most expensive part to replace, usually 150 to 300 bucks. If your dishwasher is more than 7 years old and needs a new control board, you're probably better off putting that money toward a
Two
new machine.
tabs
Don't be
to
a
the
hero
left
on this one.
into these two
If you're not
drawers
comfortable testing live voltage to diagnose the board,
and
that's where
move
you
to the
call
right.
someone like me.
And
Door latch replacement costs $20 to $70 and requires T15 and T20 Torx drivers. Never use Phillips head screwdrivers on Torx screws or you'll strip the heads. This is a straightforward DIY repair that typically takes 30 to 45 minutes. The tricky part is removing that inner door panel without breaking the plastic tabs. Take your time and be gentle. If you're not comfortable working around the door mechanism or you don't have the right tools, this might be where you call a pro. But honestly, for most folks, this is a pretty straightforward fix that can save you a couple $100 in service charges. The control panel runs anywhere from 150 to 300 bucks, which sounds expensive until you compare it to what most people replace by mistake. That control board. This is another good DIY repair if you're careful with those ribbon cables. They're delicate, and if you yank on them wrong, you'll turn a cleaning job into a part replacement job. The key is disconnecting everything before you start pulling panels apart. Make sure you can source the right color and model panel for your unit before you tear into it. Some of these are getting hard to find. If you're not comfortable working with those flat ribbon connectors, better to have someone like me handle it. But if you take your time, this repair can definitely save you some serious money. The thermal fuse itself is cheap, 25 to 50 bucks, including that new wire harness I mentioned. Here's where it gets a little more involved. You're gonna need wire strippers and a crimp tool to install that new harness properly. Don't try to just twist wires together or use wire nuts. You need proper crimped connections to prevent the high resistance that blew the fuse in the first place. If you've got basic electrical skills and the right tools, this is totally doable. But if you're not comfortable stripping and crimping wires, or if you're worried about working around electrical connections, that's definitely a call the pro situation. A bad connection here can create a fire hazard. The main control board is your most expensive option, 150 to 350 bucks depending on the model. The part replacement itself isn't too bad if you're methodical about it, just a bunch of wire connectors to transfer from the old board to the new one. Take pictures before you disconnect anything, trust me on that. But here's the thing, properly diagnosing a control board usually requires live voltage testing, and that's not something I recommend for DIers. If you've already confirmed the board is bad through other means, swapping it is doable. But if you need diagnosis work, that's where you call someone with the right meters and experience. Plus, if your dishwasher needs a control board and it's more than 7 years old, you might want to think about replacement instead of repair. All right, if you've identified which part is causing your problem, let's talk about what you're looking at cost wise and whether this is something you can tackle yourself. I always tell folks, know your limits and don't be afraid to call for help if you're not comfortable with something. Safety first, people. Now, before we wrap up, you can see right there on your screen the most common Maytag models that run into these problems. The MDB series, those are the ones with the really high failure rate on control panels, usually about a year and a half to 2 years after purchase. That's that moisture intrusion design flaw I mentioned. The Quiet Series 300 models tend to have door latch problems where that plastic handle snaps internally. And if you've got one of those older legacy models from before Whirlpool bought Maytag, you're probably dealing with worn out membrane switches in the touchpad. Take a look at that list and see if your model's up there. It'll give you a good idea of what to expect. That's how you tackle a Maytag dishwasher that won't start. Remember, start with the simple stuff. Check your door latch, look for that control lock, and test that thermal fuse before you start throwing money at expensive parts. The control panel ribbon cable corrosion is a real common issue on these units, So don't let anyone talk you into a new control board until you've checked that touchpad assembly. Most of the time, one of these fixes will get you back up and running for way less than a service call. Found this helpful? Share it with anyone dealing with appliance problems. My channel has dozens of repair guides that can save hundreds in service calls. Most fixes are simpler than you think. If this helped you get your dishwasher working again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Quick recap: check your door latch, click, test that thermal fuse, look for control panel corrosion, and verify settings before replacing expensive parts. Thanks for watching, and I hope this gets your dishwasher running again.